Why am I talking about a product that nobody cares about? Why am I talking about a company nobody cares about?
Attention, attention. This is not your normal intro because this is not your normal episode. There is explicit language in this episode. Yes, there are multiple cuss words. So if you are not a fan of cussing, this episode is not a fan for you. If you've got little ones around you or in the car, this episode is not for you. Come back to it later. It is a fantastic episode. We had the pleasure of sitting down with Carson Porter, the owner of REV Agency Syndicate. He shares his story. We get into cash value life insurance, the importance of always doing the right things, not making false promises, the questions to ask to make sure that you are solving problems and just not pushing products. All right. So with that being said, let's start the show. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your host, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and we have a special guest with us today, Carson Porter. Carson, how are you?
I'm well. How are y'all?
And I'm so good.
I'm really excited because before we got started, Carson asked what the guardrails were for the podcast. And he said he was going to get weird. I'm like, let's go. Insurance and we're going to be ourselves. Okay.
I get weird. I can't say much more about that or my wife is going to have my tail, but I get weird. So.
All right.
It's going to be a good conversation. That's what I'm excited about.
This is going to be great. So Carson, I've been following you for a long time. And so I just want to start the conversation off with, I think you're perfect to answer this. I get questions all the time. Michael, I want to have a conversation around life insurance as a wealth building tool with my customers, but I don't even know how to start the conversation.
Where do you want me to start? Because I can go so deep with this. My God.
What comes first? What comes first to your mind?
What comes to first is me getting a little pissed off, frankly. I get so freaking hyped over this because agents walk into a room and they're like, oh my God, I want to talk to somebody about this amazing wealth creation tool called Index Universal Life Insurance or Participating Whole Life Insurance or whatever, right? Cash value life insurance for the sake of argument. And they go into a conversation like, oh my God, Mr. Jones, I got to tell you about this thing. And turns out Mr. Jones has lived a long, hardy life. He's worked at the General Mills factory. He's been doing honey bunches of oats for years. And all his friends have bought some shit and half of them have been screwed by it. And he knows, or at least he thinks he knows about cash value life insurance. And here, Mr. and Mrs. Agent comes in and they're like, I've got this wonderful thing to tell you about. And it turns out it's not wonderful. It's freaking bullshit. And it pisses me off. So when you ask me, how do we open up that conversation or what do we talk about when the average agent comes into that conversation? I just get hyped about it because here's the reality. Nobody gave a flying fuck about cash value life insurance ever. What they care about is the check. And they don't care about whose name is on the check. They don't care about the company. They don't care about the agent. They care about the outcome. If it's a death benefit, is it being paid in full? If it's for tax-free retirement, is it what I expected? Or is it completely not? And the reality is the vast majority of the times it's very far outside of the scope of what was talked about and promised in that regard. And so it does frustrate me quite a bit because a lot of agents come into this just throwing it out there check out this cool tool. If you put in $200 a month, 30 years later, you're going to have $10 million. It's a lie. It's a lie. And I think the first thing most agents need to realize, if you want to sell more of it, and then more importantly, you want it to be sticky business. You want it to be a solution that actually came to fruition, right? Is you quit talking about the product and you start talking about problems. And in order to talk about problems, in fact, you need to shut the hell up. You need to ask a question and then shut the hell up. I think that's probably one of the most powerful things in regards to cash value life insurance that an agent can get in the habit of is first designing very intentional conversations built on the back of questions where they talk maybe 5-10% of the time in asking the question, and all the rest of the conversation is a client or a prospect or a person, somebody in their community, pouring their freaking heart and soul back out in response to that question. And that's probably the most powerful component of a cash value life insurance sell that there is. It'll tell you if it's worth it, if it's the right product, what's the right product, how to implement it, and everything else you need to know. So,
man, I just got to say, I am so glad that you took that route, because I feel the same way. I feel like cash value life insurance has just come out of nowhere over the last 5 to 10 years, and everybody pushes it. Obviously, there's some higher commissions on it, but solving problems. You were born with 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Ask the questions and make sure it is even a good fit before you go there.
Well, what are the questions though? So if I'm listening to this podcast and I'm like, yes, all right, I'm in. I agree with what you guys are saying. My next question is, what do I say now? I'm willing to listen, but what questions do I need to ask?
I think it depends on who you're talking to and how you found them. You know, if I'm a new agent or a tenured agent and I'm just like, hey, maybe I need a paycheck, or maybe I'm just bored and I want to prove to myself I still got it, and I want to go out there and do community surveys, I might walk up to somebody at the strip mall and be like, oh, may I borrow 30 seconds of your time? I'm a hot-headed, big-headed bastard. I tend to be a little bit cocky, and cocky didn't ever do anything for anyone. In fact, I need to be humble to do better for my clients. Could you please do me a favor? Please do me a favor. Answer a couple questions for me so I can do a better job for my own clients. And, if I ask 10 people, 3, 4, 5 of them are going to say, sure. And then I'm going to turn around and say, well, do you believe the economy goes in cycles, ups and down? And why? And it doesn't matter what they respond to. They're going to answer what their belief system is and why. It's not that I don't care. It's that in either regard, the conversation goes on in the exact same direction. Well, if you believe the economy cycles up or cycles down, or cycles up and cycles down, I mean, do you believe it's actually going to cycle up or cycle down over the next 2 to 5 years? And why? And I want to ask why, because when I ask why, again, it may not change like what I'm having for dinner tonight, but what it is going to change is my ability to access information. They're literally going to give me the tone, verbiage, syntax, everything I need so that I can communicate effectively quality information back, because it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, information that cannot be clearly communicated in a language your prospect understands is wasted in vanity, right? So I need to understand how they communicate. So I want to know why. It not only provides context, but it provides the delivery chassis. What words do I need to use? What tonality, right? Who do I need to be? I don't need to change my face or put on a different persona. I need to be authentic. I'm a big believer in that, but I can certainly meet them where they're at and speak to them in a language they understand. And that's what that why does for me. It provides all that context. Well, now when I ask them that, I can turn around and say, well, do you believe taxes are going to go up or down over the next 5, 10, 20 years? And why? And then at the end of that, I'll tell you, probably if I ask 10 people that, 8 out of 10 will say, yes, they believe in cycles. Yes, they believe the economy might cycle down over the next 2 to 5 years. And yes, they believe taxes are going up. Now I can follow up with a final question. Well, if you believe the economy goes in cycles, if you believe it's going to cycle down over the next 2 to 5 years, and you believe taxes are going up over the next 10, 20, what is it you're already doing to protect your wealth from market downturn, position it to take advantage of market upturn, and secure it from the greedy hands of the Internal Revenue Service? Or if you're in Canada, Justin Trudeau. But what is it you're already doing? I genuinely want to know. And there's only a few outcomes, like if I'm genuinely interested. I'm not out here to sell you some shit. I'm out here to be genuine, right? There's only a few outcomes. Either you're going to say, I don't know, and I get to turn around and respond, well, don't you feel like you work hard enough for your money? You deserve to know. And I've got an appointment. Or they're going to say, I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. Thank God I didn't want to work with them anyways. They're a prick. Or they're going to say, well, I'm doing X and Y and Z. And I either get a rebuttal with this might be better, that might be better, or wow, I just learned something and now I'm edified. Either way, I leave that conversation better. They leave that conversation better. And that I think is like the underlying issue, in my opinion, not just in regards to cash value life insurance, but all sales, is that people approach it from a position of, how do I talk somebody into getting an appointment with me, versus how do I guarantee that rain, shine, hell, high water, it doesn't matter. How do I guarantee this person leaves this conversation edified? Even if they tell me to piss off, I already know they're thinking about things that their advisor, their tax advisor, their financial advisor has not asked them about. And even if they don't do business with me, they are guaranteed to go consider those things and maybe call up their advisor at Edward Jones, Charles Schwab, Merrill Lynch, or somewhere else and say, hey, what is it I am doing to protect my wealth from market downturn, position it to take advantage of market upturn, and to secure it from the greedy hands of the Internal Revenue Service? And again, even if they don't call me back, they are edified. So I have to win. And that's, I think, to your question, probably one of the most impactful lessons I was taught early in my career. And I wasn't even taught it. It was more like I heard it in a side conversation, was that the goal has to be about something more benevolent than the sell. Because if it's just about the sell, it's a long, lonely, and broke-ass career. But if it's about something bigger, you get to win every single time. And that's cool. That's really cool. So hopefully that provides some context or some help.
Yeah, it does. It provides a lot of context. And I can see how this can play with your current customers as well, and having the conversation, because it's kind of like you get to fast forward the initial building rapport phase of like getting to know somebody or trying to anticipate, are they going to say yes or no, because they already do business with you. My question would be, who is an ideal customer? Like, how do you weed out that process? Because if you start with, let's say you do go to people up on the street. Most people don't, but let's say that you're looking in your current book of business. Who am I starting with to where I have the best chance to have a quality conversation about this?
Yeah, I'm going to start with like, what can cash value solve for? If we're specifically alluding to cash value, if I'm looking at annuities, I'll ask myself, what can annuities solve for? And that's, again, so on the marketing side of things, one of the most underutilized components of advanced-based automated marketing is segmenting, I think. Most people are like, oh, I have a CRM. Let me put 3 emails together and send it to everybody. You know, that's a good idea in the beginning. I don't disagree with that. In fact, we do some generalized stuff. But as I pay attention to which of my clients are responding to what, you know, maybe I've got 1,000 clients and this 200, every single email I send them about, say, mortgage protection, life insurance. And I'm never going to say mortgage protection, life insurance in an email. I'm going to talk about the problem and solution. Screw the product, right? But they open it. Well, I'm going to pull them out of this general campaign or sequence. And I'm going to start talking to them, whether it's through automation or manually, about mortgage protection. Hey, you choke on that cigarette butt tomorrow, your family stands to lose 100% of that American dream that you're paying for. You know, you're paying $3,000 a month for it. For $50 to $100 a month, I can guarantee you got to keep it. Come rain, shine, hell, high water, or cancer. That's pretty damn cool. That's pretty damn powerful. Do you want to talk? Right? So I get to segment, and that's really powerful. And so in order to create segments, what we have to understand is, what does our suite of products provide as far as a solutions base to problems? At the end of the day, 90% of our conversation should be about problems. 7 to 8% should be about the solution to the problem, not necessarily the policy, but what does the policy do? And then 1 to 2% is the actual policy, right? It's problem, 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 solution, solution. And then on the back end, oh, by the way, we accomplish this by implementing a very specific kind of life insurance policy designed to do exactly what I told you it would do. But they've already told me, whatever it is, I want it. Great, you're going to have to pee in a cup. You're going to have to shit in a shoebox, whatever you got to do. And they're like, I want it. Great. It's a life insurance policy. Do you still want to move forward? They've already bought it at this point. I still want to disclose. I still want to document that disclosure. But I have no reason to talk about the policy because they don't care about the policy. Nobody ever woke up in the dead of night ragingly aroused about insurance. They weren't like, oh my God, I got to talk to my insurance agent today. Right? They were like, oh my God, you know, I'm paying $3,000 a month for the right to be in my home, property tax, insurance. And if I step off the curb wrong tomorrow and get hit by a bus, my family could lose it all. or they wake up in the dead of night and they're like, oh my God, I'm saving all this money, but I haven't paid tax on it yet. And they're about to hike taxes to 50%. That's what keeps them up at night. Why would you talk about anything else? Screw your product. It doesn't mean anything. Your product is just a chassis to get there, right? Nobody posts a picture of their Jeep on Mount Everest. They just post a picture of themselves on Mount Everest, regardless of the fact that the Jeep's at the base of the mountain and it's what traveled, 5,000 miles to get them there so they could hike the extra 5 miles to get up to the top. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. And I love that you're talking about leading with problems, because that's definitely where my heart lies, especially with marketing, is speak to the problem first. And a lot of times people don't even know that they have that problem until you start identifying, like, this is what you're going through. This is the pain that you're experiencing. But from a marketing standpoint, are you running your own marketing as an agent? Or because that's a meaty thing to say, I'm going to send out all these emails and then I'm going to A/B test them. I'm going to test which works and then I'm going to segment. Like, that's a beefy thing. Yeah,
it didn't start that way though, right? I started broke as shit as I came out of automotive repair, and I had a good career there, but I started broke as shit. I didn't know how to do any of this. As I've made money along the way, I've been able to bring a lot of things in-house. And that's really given us the ability to increase our capacity, is a good way to put that. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, if all I'm doing is buying leads, then all I'm doing is buying leads. I'm buying data, right? I'm never building a relationship through that data, or I'm building a limited relationship through that data. Maybe my conversion rate. If I buy raw data, for example, if we're talking marketing, if I buy raw data, conversion rate, everybody says 1% to 3%, but let's be honest, in today's day and age, we're talking like 0.25% to 1% on raw data. Am I wrong?
No.
Mm-mm.
If I've got some kind of linearity, or they've got some intention behind it, like they were already interested in some insurance concepts or something, maybe 1 to 3 at this point, and then I can build it up from there. If it's my own book of business, some of our campaigns and some of the things we're doing on a 12 to 24 month cycle, we're looking at like 30 to 40% conversion on, which is phenomenal. But it doesn't all look that way. If I just buy raw data, 0.25% to 0.5%, maybe 1%. But what we did is, over the course of time, we took what we were already paying other people to do and invest in ourselves every single day into education. Okay, we're paying someone else thousands of dollars a month to do this. 15 minutes a day. I'm going to pay him for the next foreseeable future anyways. 15, 30 minutes a day. I can learn some things. And over the course of 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, all of a sudden, maybe I'm not an expert, but I'm ample. I'm sufficient. And I can replace what they were doing for me. And now I can build on that and then more. And so, yeah, at this point, I have a full-time, we call him our CTO. And that's all he does, is he runs systems, processes, does CRM build-out stuff for us, everything from websites, landing pages, and pipelines, automations, to, hey, I've got a new idea for a sequence. We've got a really great one we just launched like 60 days ago, and it is phenomenal. Like, we're talking inside of 60 days, 70% conversion rate to at least a conversation on an active book of business. So if I've got 1,000 clients, 700 clients booking appointments to have a conversation, like, it's stupid. And it came off of some idea. I was laying in bed butt naked, but I had some New Balances on for some reason.
So I don't believe you. You just said you just contradicted yourself, because you backed it up talking about insurance agents in the middle of the night. You're getting ready to contradict yourself here, but go ahead, let it rip with your dad's shoes.
I get hyped about this, but I'm paid hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars at this point. Like, prior to insurance, in fact, 3 months before I got into insurance, the same dude who recruited me sold me a policy. We were just having our firstborn child, and we were trying to save some money, right? So we were looking and shopping rates. And I remember, I was working automotive repair 100 plus hours a week, every week, 52 weeks a year, so that I could make what we needed to make. And I took time out of a Saturday, and kudos to this agent. He actually came in on a Saturday to meet with us. A lot of agents wouldn't do that, right? And so we're sitting there, and he sells us home and auto, saved us hundreds of dollars per year, whatever. And then he's like, well, what about life insurance? And I was like, yeah, fuck you. And He looks at my wife. She's smoking hot, by the way. And he's like, do you feel like he loves you? Pulled that old bullshit. And I was like, listen, Robert, number one, like you're about to cuck yourself out of a friggin' cell here. Number two, like look at my wife. She's gorgeous. Her life insurance is like right here. Something happens to me, she's better off. She's going to get a doctor, a lawyer, like somebody working at a cafeteria at a university. They're all better than what she's got right now. And we walked out. Like I did not give a shit about insurance. I get hyped about it now. I do. So yeah, I lay in bed naked with my New Balances. But the average person does not. The average person, like it's their nightmare. I got to drive across town and sign a paper to, change my bank account on my life or auto insurance or whatever. Like it ruins their freaking day that insurance agents make them do this stuff. So
what's this big New Balance idea that you had in the middle of the night? I cut you off where you shared it.
One. This goes back so far beyond insurance even. I used to wake up in the middle of the night.
That's it. I'm buying a pair of New Balances. That's it.
Right? And I'd run out in the garage and have this like four-wheeler, this ATV, this car that was kicking my butt. And I'd just be, nuts to the freaking wind. I'd say, pardon my French, but it's very English. And I'd be like 2, 3 a.m., pinpointing with my electrical testing components. We'll just put it that way so everybody understands. And like 3 a.m., I'd run back in the bedroom, like shoes on, because I lived down in the South, like Southern Utah, Phoenix, Vegas. There's thorns. You don't not wear shoes, but why put on the rest of your clothes? I'd be like, Camille, I just figured this out. And she'd be like, why the hell are you waking me up? So this goes back a long ways, Courtney. But no, a lot of these ideas that I've had late at night, to your point, have been primarily built around why am I talking about a product that nobody cares about? Why am I talking about a company nobody cares about? This company could disappear off the face. Like, who talks about Enron at this point? When was the last time you mentioned Enron? Nobody cares. What they care about is, does the check actually clear when it needed to, right? And what that comes down to is what problems do they have, and are we providing ethical, effective, and ethical solutions for that? And that's really when a lot of my career started to change, was when I quit looking at my productivity. Is some geriatric 70-year-old fuck going to hand me a $25 trophy as I walk across some stage once a year? Or am I solving somebody's problems for the rest of their life? And it literally changed. It changed my life. And I like to think it's changed the life of, my clients, my community, and hopefully hundreds and thousands of agents as we started to do what we're currently doing. So,
amen.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about what you're currently doing and why you're so passionate about it. Aside from, I know where you're at right now. You are mission driven, but yeah. I want to hear how that continues to roll.
We do a lot. I've got a bunch of companies. The one I'm putting the most time, effort, energy, and frankly money into is our mastermind, called REV Agency Syndicate. Shameless plug, whatever. But so REV Agency Syndicate, number one, it's run as a not-for-profit. I make zero money off of this. In fact, I launched it 21 months ago, and in the last 21 months, I put in about $1.2 million of my own money above and beyond what we've even billed for. I currently pay to be a member of REV Agency Syndicate, and we're committed to every dollar profit. Like, it'll pay people to admin and my team, that type of stuff, but I don't need to take home a profit on that. I make my money somewhere else. I started this as a passion project for a lot of reasons. One of the big reasons, frankly, was I was pissed. When I first got in the business, I felt like I was dropped on my face. As I've matured in my elderly, wise, wicker chair owning years, I've realized that, they're not bad dudes that brought me in the business. They were very underqualified to give me the help I needed to have a successful career. And when I first got in the business, again, I came out of automotive repair, but it wasn't a 5-gallon bucket full of tools. In fact, I still have like $250,000 worth of tools, like one of my big goals over the next 6-12 months here actually is to open up a hobby shop and do some custom builds. And we have all the tools for it still. I love it, but I was working every week, 100 plus hours a week. And you can call my wife and ask her, she'll corroborate that story. I wanted some time freedom. We were getting ready to, have some kids, and I grew up in a household where my parents are amazing people, but my old man was never there to see me hit a home run. He was never there to do a lot of these things. And I wanted that for my boys. And that's what got me into insurance. I was sold the world like a lot of people. And then, again, the people that brought me in were pretty underqualified to help me. I think they helped some other people in some pretty good ways. But, 6-8 months in the business, I'd spent off my life savings, which, wasn't much, but it was enough that we were knocking on the door of bankruptcy, foreclosure. In fact, I want to tell you about something in just a second here, but literally 2 days before that, I had come home and had a foreclosure notice taped to the door. They don't nail it. This isn't like Sheriff of Nottingham, Robin Hood shit. But it was taped to my front door, and it broke my heart, It broke my heart because my wife was trying so damn hard. We were on the verge of divorce. She's amazing. I was being a dick because the money was bad. And I want to be honest, when the money's bad, it makes a dick out of me fast. And that's not against her. That's me. But my whole life was falling apart. And when I met up with my manager and recruiter and everybody that was supposed to help me, and I was like, hey, I need help. They were like, well, let's see your quoting volume. I was like, okay, here it is. And they're like, well, it sucks. And I was like, well, no fucking shit. How do I do better? And they're like, well, see more people. How do I see more people? Well, you just got to talk to more people. And I was like, well, that's zero fucking help. That does nothing for me. It doesn't. And like, that was it. As they choked down, I remember it. We were at some shitty Chinese buffet in St. George, Utah, southern Utah. He's choking down like an egg drop soup as he's telling me this shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so I walked out of there not knowing what to do. Do I go back to automotive repair? Because I had a good living there. Like, Snap-on still pays me money for some books I helped co-author on electrical diagnostics. I had a good career there. But what I did is I told my wife, hey, give me 90 days. Like, I know you're done. You want to file for divorce. I get it. Give me 90 days. Like, you're probably not going to see me. I'm going to work. I'm going to go back to these 100-hour weeks that I know. And like, what I know is if I show up and I do work, I think things will work out. Give me 90 days. If nothing works out in 90 days, I'll either sign these papers or I'll go back to automotive, whatever we decide is best for, our son that you're pregnant with. And during that 90 days, it was, I will figure out a way to make this work. And so I went to work, and, I did it myself. I didn't know where to source mentors. I didn't even know what a mentor was. I was a frickin' mechanic. It was like assholes and elbows under the hood of a frickin' Ford, I have no idea. So I just did what I knew. I went to work, and it was like, well, how can I guarantee I get conversations with people? Well, I can't send emails. I can't hang door flyers. I can knock on their door, and if they answer, I can guarantee I'm going to talk to that person. And if I can design an intentional conversation around talking to that person, maybe I can drive some kind of good conversation out of it. And that's what it came to. In fact, my first $1 million I made was door knocking. I did it myself, and I had a team of 9 people knocking doors. And when we'd knock through southern Utah, I opened an office in Scottsdale, Arizona, Las Vegas, and Salt Lake City, Utah. And we just kept going. We don't knock doors anymore. We found a better way to do it. And that's not to say don't knock doors. I think it's a great way to do it if you're in that place. But that's where it started. So when you ask, like, why do everything we're doing, it started because I'm pissed. Where it's at now is because, I've seen other people in that position. I've seen, in fact, 3 weeks ago, I talked to a gentleman, had no idea. He hit me up on Facebook Messenger and was like, hey, I need help. We got talking, gave him a few pointers, didn't even sell him on our shit. Like, don't join our shit. Here's some free stuff. Go grab it. Go do something with it. And, he did something with it, and he ended up joining our stuff. But then he hit me up 6 weeks later, was like, hey, you didn't know this, but that day you and I were on the phone, I had a gun in my lap and I was done. Like, that hits so damn deep. Like, I've been there. I've struggled with bipolar my entire life. Like, I've had that 357 in my lap, and it hits deep. You know, we've had people, my wife just filed for divorce. I jump in, I get going on some stuff that you're pushing and teaching. And all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, she's like, you know what? I trust you enough to give you another 90 days. And in that 90 days, like, let's go figure some shit out. Right. And it hit so deep. Like, I'm addicted. How do I stop? I'm losing money at it. My wife's losing her mind. She's like, hey, we've got to get this profitable at some point, but I can't stop. It means so damn much to me. And there's so many people that come into this business and are dropped on their freaking face. Sell your mom, sell your sister. And as soon as they're done, fuck you. Like, you get nothing else. And meanwhile, that person's bet their whole life on it, their whole livelihood on it. And it breaks my heart. So I keep doing it because I see that impact, and I've gotten to be on the other side of that. I started it because I was pissed. And I had this chip on my shoulder, frankly. And in some ways I still do. So I know that's a long story, but yeah.
No, that's powerful. So Carson, if somebody wanted to follow you, connect with you, support you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Anywhere on social media at cporter389. I think my team's done a pretty good job of, I think we're the same thing on all platforms at cporter389. We've got a free Facebook group, Winning at Insurance. It's the @ sign. And we give a ton there. In fact, a huge portion of what we charge people for in our paid mastermind, we give there for free. It's not organized. You're not going to respond to that and get access to me, and I'm going to jump on a freaking phone call. I'm busy doing shit. But if you're the right person, you can grab it, you can run with it, and you can do something amazing with your life, and you don't have to pay me. It's there for you. So I think that's probably the best way. In addition to that, like, we started collaborating with NAFA. If anybody's familiar with NAFA, we're starting to do a lot of collaborations with NAFA, actually, in regards to building relevant agencies, ethical cash value life insurance production, a whole bunch of stuff. So just on a lot of NAFA things. We're all over the place. So open your eyes and don't hate me right off the bat. I know I'm pretty imperfect, and I think we can bring you some value.
Oh, I love it, man.
This has been so much fun, Carson. We have thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yeah, this has been so good. So Carson, thank you so much for your time. For those of you that are listening, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. As always, time is the most valuable and important asset that we all have. Appreciate you spending time with us today. Go out, make it great. Carson, thanks again, brother.